Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Chase here at Rocky Mountain. Thank you so much for joining us. So today's video is kind of different. We've got this Sur-Ron Light Bee X here, and we got a lot of great components on it that we have from Tusk and Warp 9. And I don't want to call this video a build because I know with the Sur-Rons and other e-bikes that there are tons of different mods and parts that you can put on these. You know, with the Sur-Ron Light Bee X, you can do aftermarket suspension components, you can do a different controller, you can do different batteries and all these other things. This video today is just going to be the necessities. These are going to be items that I think are great upgrades for anybody that has a Sur-Ron that aren't going to break the bank. And it's going to be about durability, protection, rider safety, and then depending on the type of riding that you're going to be doing mostly on your Sur-Ron, we have some other really good modifications or upgrades for that as well. So without further ado, let's kind of walk you through and show you everything that's on here. So first up, when we talk about protection, the Sur-Ron has a skid plate that comes stock, but it's super wimpy. It's very thin metal, and you're going to want to upgrade that. So we have the Quiet Glide e-bike skid plate on here from Tusk. Much thicker aluminum, much stronger. It has UHMW on there, which is an incredibly strong material, and it's going to give you way more protection and durability than the stock skid plate. It uses the same mounting locations, but trust me, with having no frame on the bottom of the Sur-Ron, you've got to have good protection down there. I've seen way too many of these get damaged pretty bad, so go grab that skid plate. That would be like the first item that I would tell you to go get. And then from there, in the back with your rear disc, so you have mountain bike brakes on these e-bikes and the rotors are pretty thin. So it's really important to have some good protection there. So we have the billet rear disc guard that's mounted up to the back of this towards the foot peg area. So foot pegs are a really good upgrade to have. Not one of the first things I would say that you definitely got to go do. I would get the protection first, but what item when it comes to durability that is important is with the foot pegs, we have a support bracket there. And the reason that that bracket is so important is because your stock foot peg mounts are made from cast. They're a cast metal and they're soft. And if you're jumping and getting pretty aggressive, if you're a heavier person, you can bend those pretty easily. So by having that support there that just goes between the two, that's going to reinforce that and hopefully prevent you from damaging your foot peg brackets. Now, while we are down there, let's talk about the foot pegs. The foot pegs that come stock on these bikes, very small, don't give you a very large platform. So we've got the Warp 9 foot pegs on here, which are the same size as pretty much a moto peg. So if you want just a better platform, it's going to give you more confidence, more grip while you're riding. Those really are a great upgrade to have. Warp 9 even makes an aftermarket foot peg mount that gives you adjustability. And you can go either 1 inch taller or 1 inch shorter than what is stock. So if you're a taller rider and you want the pegs to be down a little bit lower, you can adjust it. If you're a little bit shorter, you can bring the foot pegs up a little bit. So that is a really great option for you. Again, just depending on what your preference is and what you're looking to do with your bike. Now, as we work our way up just a little bit, the rear progression triangle and the linkage are two components of these bikes that is pretty weak that people tend to break. So these are from Tusk, again, billet aluminum, much stronger than the stock OEM parts. So that's going to be a really good upgrade to throw on there. Now, as we work our way up to the front here, next thing we'll talk about is the Tusk direct handlebar mount. I'm not going to say this is a must-have accessory, but it's very nice to have. And if you've experienced what I'm about to talk about, you'll know why. So the stock handlebar mount on these bikes is actually the mountain bike style, where it clamps to your steering stem. The problem with that setup is that these e-bikes are a lot heavier than mountain bikes. And if you go down, it's very easy to twist your handlebars. This setup will greatly reduce that and prevent that from happening because this handlebar clamp mounts directly to the upper clamp on your forks. So it's a direct mount. What's also nice about this setup is that there's two locations, closer or farther from the rider, but just mounting this up, you're already going to get 10 more millimeters of reach or extra length. So it's going to open up that cockpit a little bit. But if you want to go to the back location that we have it on now, that brings it out to 15 millimeters more length. And so for taller riders that are wanting to maybe open up that cockpit a little bit, you might not think about it, but 10 or 15 millimeters is noticeable. So that's a nice upgrade to have. Next up right here in the middle, we have the relocation bracket. That's just going to be for your display. That's made from high quality aluminum. That just makes the display easier to see while you're riding. And this display bracket is much stronger than what comes stock on these bikes. Now, next up, we have the plug and play turn signal kit. This is going to be for rider safety. Look, if we get it. You're going to be riding these around on the streets, or a lot of people do. So you got to make sure if you're going to be turning, you got to have a way to signal. It's important to have a tail light and a brake light on there as well. And so with this plug and play kit, It's very easy to set up. What's nice is that you get turn signals up here in the front that just mount right to your handlebars. And then you get a tail light here in the back that is a brake light and a sequential turn signal. So now if somebody's behind you, they can see if you're braking, they can see if you're turning. Same thing goes for up here in the front. And what's also nice about this setup is that you have two buttons here. This red button, when you have it all hooked up, will control your front light. So I'll just turn it on. But then you also have this green button and it says pass. That's because this, you can actually just sit there and press with your thumb and you can flash your lights. So if you need to get somebody's attention for whatever reason, you can flash your high beam here on the headlight. Again, we're just adding to rider safety when you're out there having a good time. All right, next up, let's talk about gearing and tires. Gearing is a very popular thing that riders like to do to their Sur-Rons depending on the type of riding that you're going to be doing. The stock rear sprocket size on these is a 48, but it's not uncommon for riders to go up to a 54 or even a 58. So we have the Tusk sprocket on here. We do offer it in three sizes. Stock 48, we have a 54 and a 58. 48, it's gonna be great for just cruising around. It's gonna give you more top end speed. If you want the most bottom end hit and you wanna make it easy to try and get your front tire up to get over obstacles, if you're doing more trail riding, you could go all the way up to a 58. If you want just to find like a nice happy medium, a 54 is kind of that sweet spot. But again, it'll just depend on what type of riding that you plan to do the most. What's nice though is that when you are selecting a sprocket on the product page, it will tell you what size chain you will need depending on the sprocket that you decide to go with. All right, so the last couple items that we need to cover are just wheels and tires. So on this bike, we had the Tusk Impact wheel set, and we actually have a couple different options that you can pick up for these. So on here, we have the stock sizing. We have the 19-inch front, the 19-inch rear. These wheels are much stronger, much more durable than the stock wheels that come on here. These are made from a 70/50 aluminum. You've got 10 gauge spokes versus 12, so a thicker spoke that's stronger. Forged hubs that are black that look awesome. And as far as sizing goes, so like I said, stock sizing is 19/19, but we do offer a 16-inch rear wheel for the Sur-Ron as well. So when Sur-Rons first came out, there was a demand for a beefier, basically moto-style tire that you could run on the rear of these things. And in order to do that, you got to have a smaller wheel size and it's got to be a little bit wider. So these wheels are wider than your stock wheels. And again, if you do want to go to a moto tire setup in the back, there is a 16-inch wheel option available. What we have on here right now is the Tusk ground wire tire. And these tires were built for the stock rims. Obviously, they work great with the Tusk wheels as well. But what's cool about these is that they were built specifically for e-motorcycles. It's got the same tread design as some of our motocross tires, but we tested different sidewall carcass constructions and different tread compounds to get these to perform the best they possibly could for e-motorcycles. So if you are looking for a nice aggressive tire, the ground wires are phenomenal. Like I said, there is a 16-inch option if you want that. What you need to be mindful of, because these are wider, if you wanted to go with an even bigger, wider tire, you could. You just have to make sure that you have the clearance for it. So make sure you're measuring the distance that you have between your forks and in the back of the bike as well, that you're not gonna rub. You will have clearance if you wanna go to a larger tire option. But that's it. That is the Sur-Ron Light Bee X that we have here. Again, these were accessories that are gonna be really good upgrades when it comes to protection, durability, safety, and especially performance when you're riding off-road. If you have any questions, comments about anything we talked about, please leave those down below. We'll get those answered. To see everything that we talked about, just click the link down below or head to RockyMountainATVMC.com. We ship for free over 75 bucks. And if you want to stay up to date on cool new products like these, you can subscribe to the Rocky Mountain YouTube channel. I'm Chase, and we'll see you on the trails.